Lewis's location at the mouth of the Delaware Bay has historically made it valuable for shipping traffic heading towards the larger port of Philadelphia. However, the importance of Lewes as a port is notoriously clouded by the dangers lurking in the waters just off the Cape. The Delaware Bay's constantly shifting shoals have acted as an obstacle to ships both past and present, and the bay floor is littered with the remnants of the ships that fell victim to these unseen shallows. The brave men of Lewes answered this call for aid in the form of the Pilots Association for the Delaware Bay and River, a collective of local sailors who were deeply familiar with the safest navigational routes through the Delaware Bay. The pilots were not the only answer, however, and a slew of lights began to speckle the Delaware coast, and the Delaware River became known as the River of Ranges. The town of Lewes houses 3 extant lights, though many more have existed in the town and waters throughout the years. Those still standing on their original sites, the East End Light and the Harbor of Refuge Light, are both examples of breakwater lights and adorn the Delaware Bay's 2 breakwaters off the tip of Cape Henlopen. The innermost breakwater was a massive undertaking constructed over the course of 70 years by the Army Corps of Engineers. This breakwater quickly proved to be obsolete, however, as it was unable to efficiently safeguard boats seeking harbor. Construction soon began on an outer breakwater, which was completed in 1901. The original East End Lighthouse, erected on the inner breakwater, was constructed of wood and lasted a mere 20 years before it was rebuilt. The current lighthouse, the familiar brick-red structure visible from all bayside beaches of Lewes, was constructed in 1885 of iron. This light somewhat acted as a replacement for the Cape Henlopen Lighthouse, which had become structurally unsound and had long been a source of concern. The East End Light was a manned station from the time of its construction until 1950, when the light was automated. It was decommissioned in 1996 after 111 years of service. The original Fresnel lens, the lighthouse's source of luminance, still remains in its original position in the lighthouse to be enjoyed by the few lucky visitors able to catch a coveted tour of this historically valuable structure. Though the outer breakwater was completed in 1901, the current Harbor of Refuge Light wasn't constructed until 1926 and was the 4th light to be erected on the site. The original Harbor of Refuge Lighthouse was a 6-sided wooden structure completed in 1908. Prior to this time, the breakwater was adorned with 2 temporary range lights. Range lights were often simple, utilitarian structures not built for aesthetic appeal. They were frequently built with the intention of disassembly and reassembly, as they were positioned to line up with the deepest portions of the shipping channel. One such structure, which existed in Lewes, was the Delaware Breakwater Rear Range Light, constructed in 1888. This light no longer illuminates Delaware, as it was disassembled in 1919, but the light would shine again after being reassembled in Florida, where it continues to guide ships today. Range lights are not the only example of mobile lights. From 1820 to 1983, the government ordered the creation of a total of 116 lightship stations. These lightships, essentially floating lighthouses, met the needs of locations like Delaware, with unpredictable bay depths and frequent obstacles. Modern-day Lewes's own lightship Overfalls actually never served in the Delaware Bay and was known as LV 118 or Cornfield, serving in the northeastern United States until her decommission in 1972. The ship was donated to Lewes to serve as a floating museum and was redubbed Lightship Overfalls in honor of the Overfalls Lightship Station at the mouth of the Delaware Bay. Great strides have been made to preserve this Lewes transplant-turned landmark, including a multi-month sabbatical in New Jersey for maintenance in 2017. Lighthouse enthusiasts across the nation view Lewes as a maritime hotbed for their historical passion. Those dedicated to lighthouse preservation are remarkable for continuing to shed light on this niche but valuable part of maritime history. Museum Minutes is brought to you by the Zwaanendael Museum in Lewes, Delaware, and by the Delaware Division of Historical and Cultural Affairs.